Hi, I'm Mike Shea from SlyFlourish.com, and I'm here to talk to you today about my new book, Fantastic Adventures: Ruins of the Grendleroot. Ruins of the Grendleroot is a book of 10 adventures for your 5th edition fantasy role-playing game. It's set in BLACKCLAW Mountain, where an ancient alien sentience known as the Grendleroot has been growing in the core of this mountain for the last 1,000,000 years. In this video, I'm going to talk about the book itself. I'm going to go over everything in it so that you can see for yourself how it can fit into your own RPG. Ruins of the Grendleroot is a 170-page book with full-color art and maps. All of the adventures have been play-tested and fully edited by veteran D&D editor Scott Fitzgerald Gray. It has a design and layout that's specifically built to help you prepare and run your own games. So over on the left, I have the PDF of Ruins of the Grendleroot, which you can get off of SlyFlourish.com or also off of DriveThruRPG. You can also pick up the softcover and hardcover versions of the book from DriveThruRPG or from Amazon.com. All of the links are on Sly Flourish. Over in the right-hand bar, you can click the icon for Ruins of the Grendleroot, and you can get all of the different versions of the book any way that you want it, including an EPUB version if you want to put it on your phone. So here's the table of contents of the book itself. One of the interesting things about it is that this book was probably about 120 pages when we first started, but because of the support from Kickstarter, we were able to add about 5 additional chapters that expanded the book to about 170 pages. So it's a great big meaty book. Most of the book is devoted to the adventures themselves, but there's about 5 chapters that cover other areas so that you can extend and expand all of BLACKCLAW Mountain to fit into your own campaign world. Chapter 1 is about this book, and the purpose of this one is for you to understand exactly what kind of book you have here. This is available in the free preview, so you can understand what kind of book you're getting here without necessarily having to buy it yet. We talk about the philosophies that we had in mind when we developed this book, that we develop situations and not stories, that it's focused on underground exploration, but also has optimistic excitement and a drive towards discovery. This is a major central theme to the adventures in this book. This isn't some dark and dismal place you don't want to go to. The things you're going to find inside of this mountain are fantastic and wondrous. It's a place that you and your players are going to want to explore. The rest of this chapter talks about exactly what the Grendleroot is, what are the 5 secrets of the Grendleroot, and how you can turn the Grendleroot into any central hub of your own campaign. The Grendleroot, as described in the book, is very specific to being this weird alien sentience deep down in the mountain. But you can easily replace it with any strong elder evil that you have in your own campaign. It could be a trapped angel. It could be a spell that's gone awry. It could be some powerful artifact that has been lost for a long, long time. You get to decide what the Grendleroot is, but we do have a default setting for the Grendleroot so that you don't need to come up with something if you don't have something in mind already. We designed the adventures in Ruins of the Grendleroot to be playable in a single session and designed for one-shot play. But you can run these as a campaign as well. You can drop these adventures into your own campaign as you go. You can mix them in with your own adventures. But we did design them so that you can very easily pick up this book, read some read-aloud text, and get right into the adventure. We also describe how you can place BLACKCLAW Mountain anywhere in your campaign. One of the central features of this book is that it all takes place inside of this one mountain. And you can drop that mountain into any campaign world you have. It could be a published campaign setting, or it could be a campaign setting that you yourself are coming up with. But to use this book, all you need to do is plop that one mountain somewhere in the world, and now you have you have access to everything that's inside of the book. And likewise, while it's very, very flexible to be able to drop this into any existing fantasy world, you can also expand the mountain nearly infinitely. The chambers that exist beneath BLACKCLAW Mountain are endless and ageless. So you can put any stories that you have that exist underground, you can drop into this mountain. We have a couple chapters in this book that help you greatly expand BLACKCLAW Mountain beyond the 10 adventures that are in here. We even have a campaign arc that goes from 6th to 20th level. So with just this book, you could theoretically run a 1 to 20 campaign, all with the material that's inside of this book. This chapter also has descriptions for each of the adventures, but I'm going to be going over each of them as we go through this book, so I'm going to skip that now. You can run each of the adventures in this book as a single session adventure, but you can also tie them together into a longer campaign. So we created something called the Grendleroot campaign arc, which focuses on 5 adventures that all focus around what the Grendleroot is and manipulations of the Grendleroot. But if you wanted to take characters from 1st to 6th level, you could run each one of these adventures, have a nice campaign arc that covers all of the first tier of D&D play. All of the adventures have a common format, and they're all designed to be easy to pick up and easy to run. If you're familiar with Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, the format of these adventures is going to be very familiar to you. An important part of the design was to do the heavy lifting for you. We know that DMing is hard, and we wanted to make sure to give you the tools to make it easy. So we really focused on doing the hard work so that you don't have to. And you'll see from the format of these adventures that they're designed specifically to help you run your games. So the first real chapter of this book talks about DEEPDELVE'S Enclave. DEEPDELVE'S Enclave is a small outpost that exists deep within the mountain in a huge chamber that sits over a ruined city called Shadowreach. And DEEPDELVE'S Enclave is really a beacon of light in all of this darkness. It's filled with people that you want to hang out with. It's filled with people that will help you on your adventures. Many of the quest hooks come from DEEPDELVE'S Enclave. If you want to buy and sell equipment, this is where you do it. It's even possible within the first adventure for the characters to build a home base that is just for them inside of DEEPDELVE'S Enclave. The people of the Enclave, they love exploration. They love to go down into the mountains. They're really excited to discover all of the mysteries that exist here. That's a common theme for the characters that are both in this town, and a common theme that we suggest you use for the characters that you're playing in these adventures. This chapter has a brief history of the ruined city that sits underneath DEEPDELVE'S Enclave. There's another chapter that covers the whole history of the mountain as well. There's 5 truths. These are the 5 truths of DEEPDELVE'S Enclave are here to help you quickly internalize exactly what DEEPDELVE'S Enclave is about, so that you can bring those things to your players when the players interact with the town. We designed DEEPDELVE'S Enclave so that it was easy to drop just about any of the weird races that exist in our fantasy RPGs. So many different races can come to this town, and the town doesn't have any preconceived notions of who is good or who is bad, so they're not going to turn anybody away at the gates. We have a number of different NPCs that exist here. Each of these NPCs has their own sort of hook. We have a lot of artwork for all of the NPCs so that you can show it to your players and they can get an idea of the people that are here. Again, they have a wide range of backgrounds, a wide range of races. There's everybody from dwarves and humans and elves. There's even a Rakshasa that's here. There's a whole lot of different kinds of characters to interact with within DEEPDELVE'S Enclave. We also have a number of locations in the Enclave. Each of these locations, and they're all, you can see this map shows where all the locations are. Each of the locations here has their own hook. The Lucky Loot Tavern, for example, has a statue of a halfling playing a lute, but it's possible that that statue is actually a petrified adventurer who's been stuck here for some time. All of the locations have some kind of interesting little hook that the characters can get involved in that go beyond the nature of the 10 adventures themselves. So we have a whole bunch of different locations for DEEPDELVE'S Enclave. It's also important that DEEPDELVE'S Enclave feels like a living place. So we offer 20 different events that could be taking place in the town, so that as the characters are exploring it or as they come back, one of these different events could be taking place, which just gives them the feeling that DEEPDELVE'S Enclave is always moving and shaking. There's always interesting things happening in this place. So that covers the first chapter. Chapter 2 is the large history of BLACKCLAW Mountain itself. It goes back over 1 million years, covering all of the different groups and races that have come to BLACKCLAW Mountain, either along with the Grendleroot when it crashed here 1 million years ago, or those that have traveled here over time, over the past 1 million years to sort of absorb the energy and the power that the Grendleroot brought to the mountain. So it covers the caretakers, the beings that actually cared for the Grendleroot out in the astral sea. It talks about the rune titans, these huge giants who were able to sort of walk through the walls of the mountain and absorb much of the power. There's a whole timeline here to quickly show you everything from 1 million years ago to the present day, so that you can see all of the different events that have taken place here. BLACKCLAW Mountain is just filled with layers of history. There's all kinds of ruins on top of ruins and chambers that have been hidden for many, many years. The whole environment is just filled with locations to explore. Many times you'll go to a place that has 3 different histories in it. And we've put the histories here, but you can replace any of these histories with the histories that make sense for your own campaign. This entire book is built to be modular so that you can drop it into your own campaign world, tear out the things that don't make sense for your world, drop in the things that do, and go with it. But we do have a bunch of default settings here so that it's easier for you to just run with it and play with what's there if you don't have something in mind already. Much of the history of this book focuses on a group known as the Magocracy of the Black Star. This is a group of 9 mages who came here about 3 centuries ago and found that the energy of BLACKCLAW Mountain was something that they could tap into. They used it for all kinds of terrible experiments and enslaved many different groups to conduct their foul rituals. About 200 years ago, a group known as the Order of the White Sun came here and smote the Magocracy, shattered the Magocracy, the Black Star. Supposedly, they brought peace to the mountain until the Grendleroot awoke and black spires pierced out all throughout the mountain and buried many of the different chambers and many of the different cities that existed here in the mountain 2 centuries ago. So now we come to the first adventure, Call of Starsong Tower. This adventure is free. You can actually download a copy of Call of Starsong Tower and run it yourself. It is designed to be a first-level adventure. It's designed specifically for first-level characters. And it's really there to show you what Ruins of the Grendleroot is like. All of the other adventures follow this format. Like all of the adventures, this has been fully play-tested and fully edited. It's got beautiful artwork in it, and it's available for free, so you can run it right now and see if it's the kind of adventure you want to run. So the story of Call of Starsong Tower is that a tower sitting inside or sitting right near DEEPDELVER'S enclave has been sending nightmares out throughout the people of the town. They ask the characters to go to this tower and figure out exactly what is going on there. As the characters navigate through this adventure, they might actually discover the history. They might discover some of the history of the Grendleroot, certainly some of the history of the Magocracy, the Black Star. They can discover a lot of different things, and they can also figure out that the Starsong Tower is being used as a beacon. They can actually turn that beacon off and then turn it into a shining light that can fill the chamber all around DEEPDELVER'S enclave with light. Each of the adventures in this book has maps by Elven Tower. They're all beautiful full color maps. Every one of the adventures also has a good piece of location art that you can actually show the players to give them an idea of the sorts of things that they're seeing in this. The second adventure in this book is called The Temple of the Forgotten God. In this one, a young girl, a daughter of an explorer, has run off into the mountain after hearing a call that she has been hearing in her mind for some time, only to find out that it is the last whisper of a dying god out in a temple that has been long forgotten. And her father asks the characters to help him go find her in this old valley of temples. This adventure, along with all of the other adventures in this book, offer a lot of advice for how to tune it for the players that you have. If you have more combat-focused players, you can certainly change the hostility of the people that they encounter here. But if they are much more interested in role-playing and exploration, you can give them some more options for interaction. So described in each of these adventures are ways to sort of turn that dial. Each adventure also has a section called Pacing the Adventure, which tells you how you can tune the timing of this adventure to fit it in the time that you have to run the game. If you have as much time as you need, you can let the adventure play out however you desire. But if you have to fit within a certain amount of time, if you want to run it in 2 hours or 4 hours, there are descriptions in here of the kinds of things that you can add or remove, or the people that you can move from place to place to get the adventure to fit the time that you have. So every one of the adventures has that built into it. Spire of Violet Falls is the third adventure and the second adventure designed for second-level characters. So the idea here is that there was once a gnome city, a reclusive gnome city called Violet Falls, and it disappeared about 100 years ago. And recently, caves have opened up that have let people discover the falls once again. And gnome zombies have started coming out of the city and attacking. The characters are asked to go to Violet Falls, figure out why these zombies have attacked, and there's obviously some sentience that's behind sending them to attack DEEPDELVER'S enclave. So the purpose of this adventure is for the characters to go there, find out who's sending the zombies, and learn what they can of Violet Falls itself. Fistful of Copper is an adventure for third-level characters. In this one, the characters find out that a group of both hobgoblins and orcs are planning to attack DEEPDELVER'S enclave. It's up to them to decide how to stop these attacks, either by getting the two groups to fight each other, eliminating one group or another, or defending the town itself. This one is a very sandbox-generated adventure where the characters can really decide how exactly they want to interact with it. It's an adventure with a lot of moving parts, but it can be really interesting for the players to decide how they want to approach this problem and how they want to stop the groups that are attacking. Unlike the other adventures, this has multiple locations that the characters can go to, including a huge hollowed-out stalagmite and a great tower. There's also a couple of locations that the DM can drop in where the characters might either ambush or be ambushed by these orcs and hobgoblins. In the adventure Shatter, the characters find out that one priest has figured out how to destroy the Grendleroot, but by destroying it, he will end up destroying the whole mountain as well. So the leaders of DEEPDELVER'S enclave ask the characters to go confront this priest and stop him before he could theoretically destroy the entire mountain around them. The location for this adventure is known as the Forest of Iron. It is a huge cavern filled with all sorts of strange Grendleroot growths, including a whole fern grove where every one of the ferns is made out of this super thin, super sharp metal, and if you're to fall into it, you'll just be shredded. There's a huge Grendleroot tree decorated with corpses who have been impaled there by a strange, twisted, shambling mound. There's a huge skull of a rune titan that's hollowed out, and the characters can explore deep down in there and find a relic that's connected to the rune giant above. Finally, they'll face the priest himself and have to decide exactly how they want to stop him from potentially destroying the mountain. In the adventure Chul, the characters discover that a very old being, is using a telepathic ability to lure creatures into its gaping maw. The characters arrive at an old abolithic city known as the Sunken Temple, and there they find that a cult has begun worshipping a being that was connected to aboliths who ruled here long ago. In the conclusion of the adventure, the characters face off against a Chul who has learned how to use the abolith's telepathic power to call beings so that it might devour them. In the adventure The Cell, the characters find out that a being has been trapped in an old monastery buried deep within the mountain for hundreds of years, but the cell is beginning to crack and this entity is beginning to get out. An old monk who used to protect this cell begs the characters to go reseal the cell and stop this being from getting out. But at the same time, a group of paladins connected to the Order of the White Sun plans to go to the cell, open it, and defeat the creature within. The characters have to decide how they're going to approach the being in the cell. In the default version of this adventure, the being in the cell is a very powerful night hag that was tied to the magocracy of the Black Star. But you can replace this night hag with any powerful creature that you want to put here from your own adventures or your own campaign. In the adventure Vault of the White Queen, the adventurers learn that the Grendleroot is waking up again, and there's only one being in the whole mountain who knows how to quiet it. That being is a vampire, one of the former mages of the magocracy of the Black Star, who has been secluded for hundreds of years in her own vault. The characters have to approach her vault, either by going through a town of people who worship her, or by facing her guardian at the front gates, in order to talk to her and convince her to quiet the Grendleroot once again. In this adventure, the characters can decide whether they want to take a more role-playing centric approach or a more combat-focused approach, either by going through the hunting ground of the vampire guardian who protects the Vault of the White Queen, or by talking their way through the village of people who have worshipped the White Queen as a deity. In Children of the Red Rose, one of the heroes of DEEPDELVE'S Enclave is being hunted by a pair of assassins. The assassins are powerful enough that nobody in DEEPDELVE'S Enclave can just face them in one-on-one combat. The hunted hero, Ruth Willowmane, goes to a place known as the Den of Bones, where she plans to face these assassins herself and likely fall under their blades. But Ruth's longtime partner asks the characters to go to the Den of Blades and help her defeat these assassins. In this adventure, the characters can use many of the aspects of the Den of Blades to cut through the assassins' assault force as they make their way to try to face Ruth Willowmane. In the final adventure in this book, we have the Seed of the Black Cathedral. Here, a former explorer of DEEPDELVE'S Enclave has betrayed her own party, killing them, and entering the Black Cathedral so that she could take the power for herself. The Black Cathedral is a massive construct built by the caretakers who originally captured the Grendleroot and sits down deep in the heart of the mountain. Elvana Heverax, the villain of this adventure, plans to use the Seed of the Black Cathedral, a seed that can control the Grendleroot so she can have the power for herself. The characters have to navigate their way through this huge and alien structure in order to find Elvana, fight her guardians, and stop her from using the seed to get control of the Grendleroot itself. This is the pinnacle adventure of this book, and it gives the players the opportunity to see what the Grendleroot is for themselves. The appendices for Runes of the Grendleroot include a lot of different tools that you can use to help you run this game. The first is a player's guide that we use that is something you can give to the players so they can understand exactly what kind of characters they should be building for this. In it, we have a whole bunch of different backgrounds or descriptions of existing backgrounds that you can use for your characters. We also include a couple of new ones, including the BLACKCLAW Sage, the BLACKCLAW Deep Delver, and the Grendleroot Scholar. These are brand new backgrounds that you can use just to tailor a character specifically for this group of adventures. We also have the BLACKCLAW Mountain GAMEMASTER'S Toolkit. This includes a whole series of tools that you can use to fill both the adventures that are in here and help you create your own adventures in the mountain. It includes things like new locations for the characters to discover in their journeys. It includes structures that exist inside of Shadowreach itself. It includes features that you can drop into any room, environmental effects that can shake up a location. It includes a whole series, 50 different random encounters that the characters might interact with as they travel through the mountain. Each of these encounters includes not just a random monster, but also a situation for the characters to navigate. Some of these may be combat focused, but many of them might be handled through role-playing, or they might be handled through other ways of exploring the situation. This chapter also includes Grendleroot mutations. These are ways to drop a specific power onto a monster to make it fit the theme of the Grendleroot more. So you have things like poisoned weapons, or shooting spines, or telepathic powers, or ways to even twist time. All of these are designed to help reflavor monsters in a way that fits into the theme of the Grendleroot. Because of the central theme of exploration, it's important to have things to actually discover. There's a whole section in here on relics that characters can find all throughout the mountain. A relic is essentially a single-use magic item that has a strong power in it. So while the characters are discovering this, you can generate relics that they can find all throughout the mountain, either in the adventures or as they explore the mountain themselves. And each of these can give a player a specific new powerful ability, but one that they can only use one time. We also included a few other tools that in the back of the book just to make it easy to run and to improvise adventures as you go. We have improvised ability checks, damage, and effects. We also include madness effects, which is something that comes into play quite often in this book. The final appendix is a level 6 to 20 campaign outline. So if you want to expand this book beyond the level 1 to 5 and the 10 adventures that take characters from 1st to 5th level in the rest of this book, this chapter has ways to expand it far beyond. The central theme of this campaign arc is that the magocracy of the Black Star is returning, that four of the 9 mages still exist, one of which is on the side of the characters, 3 of which are seeking to return power to themselves. They are actually calling out to an ancient, powerful entity known as the Black Star that's floating out in space, sort of the parent of the Grendleroot itself, and plan on bringing the Black Star to the world. So that covers everything that's in Ruins of the Grendleroot. I really enjoyed putting this book together. It meant a lot to me to do it. It was something that I really wanted to build to help DMs run great games. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for taking a look at it. I hope you'll take a look at the free sample, and if you like it, I'll help you pick up the book. Thank you very much.